There's a moment that happens every single morning, a moment most people sleep through, a moment where the day is decided before the sun even rises. And in that moment, in the silence before the world wakes up, there's a choice being made, a choice that separates those who dream about success from those who build it with their bare hands. You see, while most people hit snooze for the third time, somewhere in a quiet house, a future is being constructed. Not with grand speeches, not with motivational posters on the wall, but with something far more powerful. Something so simple it sounds almost insulting when you first hear it. The habits you perform before 9 in the morning will determine the wealth you build over a lifetime. And today, we're going to expose exactly what those habits are. Because here's what nobody tells you about becoming wealthy. It's not about the business idea. It's not about the market conditions. It's not even about how smart you are. Those things matter, sure, but they're not the foundation. The foundation is built in the hours when nobody's watching, in the moments when you think nobody cares, in the morning routine that most people consider too boring to even discuss. Let me tell you about a man named James. James wakes up at 5:30 every morning. He's been doing it for 11 years. He's not a CEO, not yet. He manages a mid-level logistics team at a shipping company, makes $68,000 a year, has a wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage that keeps him up at night. On paper, James is ordinary, completely, utterly ordinary. But here's what you don't see on paper. Here's what the numbers don't show you. James has built something in those 11 years of 5:30 mornings, something that's currently worth $470,000, a side business, a digital asset, a future that's growing silently while everyone else sleeps. And it all started with one decision, one morning habit that changed everything. The first 90 minutes of your day are not like the other hours. They're different, neurologically different, psychologically different. When you wake up, your brain is in a state that scientists call hypofrontality. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and willpower, is fresh. It hasn't been depleted yet by the 1,000 tiny choices you'll make throughout the day. This is why every wealthy person you've ever studied, every CEO who's built something real, protects their morning like it's sacred ground, because it is. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think morning routines are about meditation apps and green smoothies. They think it's about yoga poses and gratitude journals. And listen, if those things work for you, fantastic. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something deeper, something that actually moves the needle on your net worth. The wealthy don't wake up early to feel good. They wake up early to think clearly. There's a concept in psychology called decision fatigue. Every choice you make throughout the day depletes a finite resource in your brain. Every time you decide what to eat, what to wear, which email to answer first, you're spending mental currency. And by the time most people get home from work, that currency is gone, completely depleted. This is why the average person comes home, collapses on the couch, and scrolls through their phone for 3 hours, not because they're lazy, but because their decision-making capacity has been exhausted. But the CEOs, the founders, the quietly wealthy people who never make the Forbes list but somehow own 3 properties and never worry about money, they understand something different. They understand that the most important decisions of your day must be made before decision fatigue sets in, before the world starts demanding things from you, before your phone starts buzzing with other people's emergencies. So what are they actually doing in those morning hours? First, they're creating, not consuming. This is the most critical distinction. The moment you pick up your phone in the morning, you've lost. You've handed your attention, your fresh cognitive capacity, your most valuable mental resource to someone else's agenda. Every notification, every news headline, every social media post is designed by brilliant engineers to capture and hold your attention. And when you give them your morning, you're giving them your future. The wealthy create before they consume. Always, they write, they strategize, they solve problems, they build. James, the man I told you about, he spends 60 minutes every morning working on his digital business. Not after work, not on weekends, in the morning, when his mind is sharp, when nobody's interrupting him, when the house is quiet and the world hasn't started making demands. 60 minutes, that's it, but here's the mathematics that changes everything. 60 minutes a day is 7 hours a week, that's 30 hours a month, 360 hours a year, that's 9 full work weeks. 9 weeks of focused, high-quality cognitive work done before most people have even checked their email. Multiply that by 11 years and you get 990 hours. That's nearly 25,000 hours of deep work. 25,000 hours of building while everyone else is scrolling. Do you understand what I'm telling you? James didn't get lucky. James didn't have connections. James didn't inherit anything. James simply protected his morning and used those hours to build something real. And now that thing is worth almost $500,000. Not because he worked harder, but because he worked smarter. Because he understood that the morning hours are worth more than the evening hours, dramatically more. But there's a second habit that separates the wealthy from everyone else. And this one is going to make you uncomfortable, because it goes against everything you've been taught about work-life balance and self-care and taking it easy on yourself. The wealthy move their bodies first thing in the morning, and I don't mean a gentle stretch. I mean they push themselves physically in a way that creates discomfort, a way that requires discipline, a way that reminds them before the day even begins that they are capable of doing hard things. Here's why this matters more than you think. When you force yourself out of bed and into physical exertion, you're not just exercising your body, you're exercising your willpower. You're training the most important muscle you have, the one that will determine whether you build wealth or stay broke, the discipline muscle. Every morning that you do something difficult, something that requires you to override your brain's desire for comfort, you're strengthening your capacity to make hard choices later in the day. There's research from Stanford that shows people who exercise in the morning have significantly higher executive function throughout the entire day. They make better decisions, they resist temptation more effectively, they persist longer when faced with challenges, not because exercise makes them smarter, but because the act of doing something difficult first thing in the morning sets a psychological precedent. It tells your brain, today we do hard things. And wealth is built by people who do hard things. Think about it, every significant financial decision you'll ever make is hard. Saving 20% of your income when you want to buy something now, that's hard. Saying no to a night out because you're building a business, that's hard. Working on your side project after a 10-hour workday, that's hard. Having the difficult conversation with a client who's not paying on time, that's hard. Every single action that moves you toward financial freedom requires you to choose discomfort in the present for benefit in the future. And if you can't choose physical discomfort at 6 in the morning, how will you ever choose financial discomfort when the stakes are real? The third habit is the one nobody talks about, because it's not sexy, it's not Instagram-worthy, it doesn't make for good content, but it's perhaps the most important one. The wealthy spend time in the morning doing deep thinking, not reacting, not responding, not managing, thinking. Strategic, long-term, big-picture thinking about where they're going and how they're going to get there. Most people spend their entire lives in reactive mode. Something happens, they respond. An email comes in, they answer it. A problem arises, they fix it. They're like firefighters, constantly running from one emergency to the next, never stopping to ask why the fires keep starting in the first place. This is not how wealth is built. Wealth is built by people who spend time thinking about the future while everyone else is managing the present. There's a CEO named Linda who runs a manufacturing company worth $43 million. She employs 217 people. But if you asked her what the most valuable hour of her week is, she wouldn't tell you about board meetings or client calls or strategic planning sessions with her executive team. She'd tell you about the 60 minutes she spends every Monday morning, alone in her office, with nothing but a notebook and a pen, asking herself 3 questions. Where is my business going? Where do I want it to go? What's the gap between those 2 things? That's it, 3 questions, 60 minutes, no phone, no computer, no interruptions, just deep, focused thinking about direction and strategy. And over the last 12 years, those Monday morning thinking sessions have generated more value for her company than any marketing campaign, any sales initiative, any operational improvement. Because strategy without execution is useless, yes, but execution without strategy is just expensive motion. You're busy, but you're not building. This is what the morning gives you: time to think, time to plan, time to see the bigger picture before the urgent details of the day cloud your vision. Most people never build wealth because they never stop moving long enough to ask if they're moving in the right direction. They're climbing the ladder as fast as they can, never pausing to check if the ladder is leaning against the right wall. But here's the part that changes everything. Here's the mindset shift that takes all of these habits and turns them into actual wealth. It's not about doing these things once. It's not about having a productive morning once a week or once a month. It's about understanding that your life is not built by your best days. Your life is built by your average days, by what you do consistently, repeatedly, boringly, day after day after day when nobody's watching and nobody's cheering. There's a man named Marcus. Marcus started waking up at 5 in the morning 7 years ago. He wanted to build a business. He wanted financial freedom. He wanted to stop trading time for money and start building assets that worked for him while he slept. So he committed to the morning routine: creation before consumption, physical exertion, strategic thinking. He did it for 3 weeks and felt amazing, felt like he was finally on the right path. Then life happened. His daughter got sick, his wife's car broke down, work got stressful, and the morning routine disappeared. For 3 months he slept in, told himself he deserved rest, told himself he'd start again when things calmed down. But things never calm down. Life is always chaotic. There's always a reason to skip, always a justification, always an excuse that sounds completely reasonable. Marcus realized something in month 4. He realized that successful people and unsuccessful people face the exact same challenges. the same sick kids, the same broken cars, the same stressful jobs. The difference wasn't in their circumstances. The difference was in their commitment to the routine despite the circumstances. So Marcus started again, 5 in the morning, every single day, no matter what, and this time he didn't stop. 7 years later, Marcus owns 2 businesses, has 7 streams of income, and made $480,000 last year. Not because he's smarter than you, not because he got lucky, but because he protected his mornings with religious consistency for 7 years. 7 years of doing the same boring routine every single morning. That's the real secret. That's the part nobody wants to hear, because we want the shortcut, we want the hack, we want someone to tell us there's an easy way, but there isn't. There's only the disciplined way. There's only the consistent way. There's only the way that requires you to show up every single morning and do the work even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's what I need you to understand. The morning routine isn't about productivity, it's about identity. Every morning you wake up early, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're telling yourself through your actions that you're the kind of person who keeps commitments. You're the kind of person who does hard things. You're the kind of person who builds a future instead of just living in the present. And over time, those votes add up. They compound. They transform you from someone who wants to be wealthy into someone who is becoming wealthy. Because wealth isn't a destination, it's not a number in a bank account. Wealth is a way of being. It's a set of habits, a pattern of choices, a lifestyle of discipline that you practice every single day until it becomes who you are. And that transformation doesn't happen in the afternoon. It doesn't happen in the evening. It happens in the morning, in the quiet hours, in the moments when nobody's watching. There's something sacred about those early hours, something almost spiritual if you're open to that kind of language. When you're awake and the world is still sleeping, when you're working while everyone else is resting, when you're building while everyone else is dreaming, you tap into something powerful. You connect with a version of yourself that's stronger, more focused, more capable than the person you were during the regular hours of the day. And the more you spend time with that version of yourself, the more that version becomes your default. The morning routine doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your identity. It changes who you are at your core. And when you change who you are, everything else changes too. Your income changes, your relationships change, your opportunities change, because the world doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your actions, and your actions are determined by your identity. So here's the real question, not whether you can wake up early, not whether you can exercise or create or think strategically. You can do all of those things. The real question is, are you willing to become the kind of person who does those things? Are you willing to cast that vote every single morning for 7 years, for 10 years, for the rest of your life, because that's what it takes, not motivation, not inspiration, not a burst of enthusiasm that fades in 3 weeks. But a deep, fundamental commitment to showing up every single day and doing the work regardless of how you feel. The wealthy aren't wealthy because they feel motivated every morning. They're wealthy because they do the work even when motivation is nowhere to be found. They understand that feelings are irrelevant. Feelings are just weather patterns in your brain. They come and go, but commitment is permanent. Commitment is the foundation. Commitment is what carries you through the days when everything in you wants to quit. And listen, I know this isn't the message you wanted to hear. I know you wanted me to tell you about some revolutionary morning routine that will make you rich in 6 months. I know you wanted the exciting version. The version with the shortcut, but I respect you too much to lie to you. The truth is simple. Wake up early. Create before you consume. Move your body. Think strategically. Do this every single day for years. That's it. That's the entire secret. James is building his business. Linda is growing her company. Marcus is creating multiple income streams. They're not special. They're not gifted. They're not lucky. They're just disciplined. They just protect their mornings. They just show up every single day and do the work that most people are unwilling to do. And over time, that compounds into something that looks like magic to everyone else. But it's not magic, it's just mathematics. It's just the power of small actions, repeated consistently, over long periods of time. So tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, you have a choice to make. The same choice you make every single morning. You can hit snooze and drift back into the warm comfort of sleep. You can tell yourself you'll start next week, next month, when things are less busy. You can keep living the same way you've been living and keep getting the same results you've been getting, or you can choose differently. You can choose to become the kind of person who wakes up early, who creates, who moves, who thinks, who builds. The person you'll be in 10 years is being created right now, in these morning hours, in these small choices, in these quiet moments when nobody's watching and nobody's cheering. And a decade from now, you'll either look back at this moment and wish you had started, or you'll look back and be grateful that you did. The difference between those two futures is decided tomorrow morning, and every morning after that, for the rest of your life. The choice is yours. It's always been yours, and it always will be. So choose wisely, choose consistently, choose the person you want to become, and then prove it to yourself one morning at a time until that person isn't something you're becoming, it's simply who you are. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to start building a different future, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. There's so much more to talk about, so much more to build together. I'll see you in the next one.